Right, welcome back to the Workbench Apprentice. This week we're working on the rockers. So I need to get these templates down to the same size, which I'm going to do on the sander, and then we can cut them out. So I've just stuck them together with double-sided tape, just so that they will come to the same shape. So let's get cracking with that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I shall get the jigsaw out and we shall start cutting these out. Okay, we're all set up. Let's cut out the first rocker. Okay, we've got those bits cut out. What I'm going to do now is attach the template to the piece, and then we'll take it over to the router and pattern match the template. Right, let's just see if we can line this up. Looks pretty good there, and there. So what's been happening is with the double-sided tape, it's every now and then it causes a bit of delamination on this micro thin veneer on the plywood, and that's what this patch here is. Now, luckily though, that we can cover it with adding the second piece. But I want to sort of ensure that that's not going to be a problem, so the next thing I'm going to do is the old masking tape and super glue thing, so I'm going to try that for the next one. That's the super glue applied. Just put a bit of accelerator on our tape. And then line it all up, and hopefully that's going to be good to go. Right, oh well. Right, let's see how this thing went with the super glue masking tape. Well, it certainly came off a bit easier. That was pretty good. Okay, I'm very happy with the results of this. This is great stuff. The template looks fine. The surface on the plywood looks fine too. So that would be one pair done. Okay, so the bits are trimmed out. What I'm going to do now is just glue them together. So this will form the rocker part, and the narrower piece gives us a channel to mount the little platform that the lucky recipient of this will use to climb on and off their rocking motorbike. So yeah, in the comments let me know what you thought of the masking tape and super glue method. I thought it was pretty good. You just got to get your tapes lined up. If there is a trick to doing that, then please let me know in the comments. I do read all the comments and reply as soon as I can, which is usually pretty quickly. The joys of having a small channel. Right, let's stick this piece on. Yes, I know that this piece here didn't need glue on it, but oh well, it's got it now. Just making sure that we've got it all lined up along the bottom. Okay, I'm happy with that. Just going to try that off a bit. this up a bit. Right, put that aside. Alright, it's the next day, so let's take these clamps off and see how we got on with the glue up. Well, I don't think they're going to take much to clean up at all. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. That looks great. It looks like there is plenty of space in there. And there. And they're not perfectly curved, but it's a handmade product, so. Right, so I think if I clamp these together in the right place and then sand them by hand with the sanding jig, then we should be able to end up with a small surface. I think that's dropped. So if I sand sort of this part here first, then clamp it, move it, that should work out. So I've put some fresh 60 grit paper on our flat surface, and I'm just going to do that until it's nice and smooth. So I'll just keep going like that until I'm happy with the surface, that it's all nice and flat. Right, so we're nearly done. That is pretty good. So all I have to do now is clean up the edges to get rid of the burn marks, and then we're ready to work out how far apart we want these things to be, and find some wood to make the platform that holds it all together. So I've just got some 60 grit on a foam sanding block, and just going to rub until we get rid of these burn marks. So there we go, doesn't take long at all, especially if you use the fast forward mode. So I'll just carry on and do the rest. Right, so I've been down to the local recycling yard and I found this piece of pine which will match up with this piece of pine that I already had. The only thing with this one is it's got a wee nail in it and a couple of holes, but we can fill those, so let's take the nail out. Yes, this one's painted, so I'm going to have to sand that off. So that's what happens when you don't lock the fence down. Hopefully we can still get our piece of wood, pieces out of it that we need. Okay, so I've readjusted the fence, I've checked that it's locked down, and all we need to do is just take that piece off. So we need to make it about there somewhere, I think. So let's try that. So here we go, got it sort of laid out. How it's going to go. So I just got to work out what I need to round over and what I don't. Actually, first things first is I'll mark out where the screws are going to go to hold all this together. So want to measure, should be 18mm, but we can always check. and it is, so 9mm in. So we want to be 9mm in, which will give us the centre of here. That's there, so we can draw a line between those two. Just check that centre, yes it is. And we can drill a hole in the middle of each one of these ones. These end ones which will go on here. It would be best to have two in there, because that's the piece that's going to hold the bike on. So yeah, we'll just get set up and get ready for that. Okay, so I've got a couple of sliding squares here set up. So this is 9mm in. This is the end one, so we want 2 screws in here. And I'm just going to make it 9mm in from the end. So there's that one, and then for these ones, just 9mm in from the centre, and I've got this one set up to be the centre, so we can mark just like that. So I'll go through and do the rest, won't take me too long, and then we'll drill them out, ready for the screws. Okay, I have set the countersink bit to go to the right depth, so just going to countersink all these holes. And that's what we end up with. Right, so we just need to round over the surfaces of the rocker and the slats. So that's what we're doing now. So that's the rounding over done. What I need to do now is just go over it with some sandpaper, get rid of the burn marks on all the pieces, and then we'll be good to assemble the rocker. Okay, everything is sanded down to 120, so let's start by putting on the first piece. So make sure it's all nice and square. I'll drill some pilot holes. And one more. Line it up with our holes, which should be right there. Check for square again. there. We'll flip it around a bit. And do the same thing. Right, let's do the other end. So we've got a bit of a gap there that seemed to have drilled in the wrong place or something. Yes. Damn thing moved. Right. So there we go. There's another system. So what I want to do is fill those holes and make some new ones. So the best way that I know of to fill holes of this size is by using a bamboo skewer with a little bit of glue just to hold it in place. So I'll grab all the gear I need for that and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I found a bamboo skewer that's the right size. So you just need a tiny bit of glue on the skewer. And just poke it in the hole. Just chop it off. And I'll clean it up with a chisel in a bit. Rinse and repeat. Just with the chisel, just so it's flush with the surface and isn't going to provide us with a problem later on. Even just a bit of sandpaper just to okay, so if we put our piece in there, I am going to drill this one so that I've got a point for it to, the square is there. So that would be square right there. Right, now for this side. Is that square? Yes, it is. Square. How does that look? That looks pretty good. Okay, next thing I want to do is find the middle. Yeah, looks like 740 mil. So that's going to be 350, 372. 72 is going to be about there. So I've marked just there. Make that the centre. Where it seems to be. So now the idea is that we put one on that side of that line, another on that side of that line. So I shall drill that. I shall place that. Again, I want to make sure it is square. Pilot hole. Check for square. Quite. That's pretty good. Right, what I'm going to do now is clamp this side down so that this end goes hard against here. So that side square. Check both sides. That'll be good. Now, because that moved, I'm going to check it all again. Right, so what I want to do is mark out to secure that bike to the frame. Oh, sorry, to the and the way I'm going to do that is to measure what have we got there? 450, so that's going to be 225 to the centre. $225 is right there. And we shall square that line down. Right, so that's now our centre line. The wheel comes out at 66 millimeters wide, so we know that, so I think if we go 20 mil either side of the centre line, and if we mark those points, so we're going to drill our hole somewhere along that line, and that line. So if we put the bike in place, we can work out where the wheel touches the frame. We also need to work out where the centre of that wheel is. Which is going to be somewhere. So we said 66, 33. So I need to straighten that up. Line up. and that makes contact about there, so basically where the joint and the tape is. So if I drill 2 holes in there, all the way through, and what about there? Right, so here we go, let's put this thing together. Just lining up the centre lines. Right, to make the last piece for the bike, this is the foot peg, so we're going to just mark off 100mm, and then need to allow for the thickness of the body with the bits added on. So I want to know how thick it is here. Right, so that thickness is 68mm. So I'm just going to simply put that there. And then another 100mm to give us the same on both sides. And that's where we need to cut it off. Right, so we'll just do this by hand, because by the time it takes me to get the sled out for the saw and set that up, I'll have this cut. Go. It's quick and easy as that. So I just need to round that off, just like I did that, with some sandpaper. Right, here we go. Right, now to check it for fit. Okay, so I think I'm ready. Just going to put a bit of glue on here. Won't need a great deal. Beautiful, and it's just running around. And as that slides through, as I said before, it'll spread everywhere. So, through the hole. There we go. Just make sure that it's the same sort of length on both sides, which it isn't. That's 100 mil, and that's 100 mil. So there we go. That is our bike all assembled. Right, so I need to sand this thing down with the fine grit, prepare it for putting the polyurethane on. So I am going to take it off the rocker. And what I will do is mark the front. And right, so I'm going to do the bottom of the wheels first, because I want to give them enough time to suck up the polyurethane and get a bit less tacky before I turn it over and do the rest of it. It's also quite a tricky thing to cover because it has so many little bits and pieces. So I'm just going to take my time, make sure I do everything, do it once, do it well. Okay, I've done the upside down bits. Now it's time to turn it over. And I can see all the bits that I've missed. So there we go, we've reached the end of another Workbench Apprentice project. Thanks for joining me on this one. I do hope that you will hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And also let me know in the comments what you think of the end result. So yeah, so we'll just finish with some shots of the completed project. And we'll see you next time on the Workbench Apprentice.